As far as the injuries are concerned, everybody really should be good to go for the game. The only thing that we're waiting to see is Xavier Smith did pass his concussion test, but want to be able to have him go through the practice, see how he feels, and make sure that it's the right thing to do for him based on how kind of today goes. So he's kind of the only one that, his status is still to be determined based on how today goes, but was a positive that he was able to pass his baseline test, and, we'll see how it goes. And if he's feeling good, then he'll be up, and if not, then we'll have an alternative plan. It is. Yep. That was kind of the plan that we had all along. Fortunately, you kind of look at it where you end up putting 3 guys on IR this past week. Want to make sure that you have the roster spots available for hopefully sooner than later. Expect Tutu to be back next week. Getting close to potentially being able to explore the window to open up for Akello. And, my thought process would be that, hopefully all 3 of those guys will earn the right to be able to come back and contribute for our football team at some point, but don't want to put the cart before the horse.
So might you have to make a decision about Hardy's roster spot?
No. We feel fortunate. When we sat down, if we ended up saying, all right, Mevis, didn't need to, he had another flex available, but because of some of the roster management, put him up. But our plan, with Les and I have always been, to keep 2 because we do have a lot of belief in Josh as well.
The Rams have a history of dominant defensive line back in the 60s,
Yeah.
fearsome, foursome. What do you think of this group? Do you think they have the potential to kind of
I think it's a special
that?
group. I think it's hard to compare different genres, generations. I think they're both great, and I feel really fortunate to be a part of it and watch the way these guys work day in and day out. Whether it's Giff Smith, Drew Wilkins, Joe Caniglio, but those players, when you just look across the front, it's a group that they're really connected. They play for one another. I think they understand how to be able to rush. We talk about 4 as 1, or if we're sending more, how does the rushing coverage tie together? But the competitive stamina that they have, the strain, the way that they bring our style of play to life, Gary, it's really fun to be around. And I'll tell you what I think is really special about it, specifically as it relates to Kobe Turner and to Byron Young, because I was telling Aaron this the other day. It'll be special to honor Aaron, and, and he deserves all the credit that he gets. But Aaron's willingness after, maybe there's a thought process, win the Super Bowl in his 8th year, hey, going to go out, but he plays 2 more years. And then his 10th year where he's really taken everything in, and it was a challenging year to start, but the way that he poured into these guys and he was willing to kind of just elevate them, I'm so glad that Kobe Turner and Byron Young were able to see that. So now when we share stories, and then they can talk to Verse and Fisk and, Poona Ford about what it was really like, or Tyler Davis and, Josiah Stewart. And it's a really special thing that Aaron should take a lot of pride in, helping kind of set the foundation of what this group is. And, I know they're doing the right things when he's proud of the way that they play. And I think, our goal and our hope is to continue to honor him the way that they play. And it's going to be fun. It's a great challenge, against an excellent opponent on Sunday night. But I love this group, Gary, and I love what they're about.
Coach, Aaron, when he was here, kind of got emotional about what this franchise
Yeah.
means to him, talks about your relationship being there for him. And now you guys are facing Baker, who, you guys gave him a shot, and he's had a pretty awesome career. Was there a guy or someone for you that taught you that, or believed in you and made you feel?
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking about it in the quarterback room. I think my dad is the one that my grandpa is probably really one of the people, and my dad, just the way that they poured into me. And the importance and the platform that, coaching provides. We were talking in the quarterback room about, the importance, whether it's teachers or coaches, and what an amazing platform you have to influence and affect positive change. I still keep in touch with my coaches at Marist were amazing. A guy that I'm really close with is Dan Perez. And, I can remember when I was, getting a chance to start as a quarterback as a sophomore, and going through some different challenging times, and the belief that he instilled in me, and the way that I've always felt supported, and how much that meant. And so I've had a lot of people that have been really special in my life. My dad, my grandpa, obviously my mom's a huge part of that. But, as far as the coaching thing, I've had great coaches, but those guys at Marist and Dan Perez in particular stands out.
Davante, we talked about how much money is happening in the building this
That's
year.
good. You guys having fun talking over my guy over there?
Are there any moments specifically where you've seen that, show up?
Yeah, I think celebrating other successes. I think one of the coolest things that he said in his post game after the San Francisco game was the selflessness of this group and the genuine enjoyment. We talk about all the time. You show me a good team, I'll show you a team that enjoys others' success as much as their own. And you watch when Colby Parkinson scores last week and Davante gives a little nudge to Woolen in pursuit, and how excited when he's flexing and celebrating with Colby Parkinson. But he's a bright light for our football team. He's one of those guys that you want to work hard and not let him down. He's got a swag, a charisma. He's got a style of play that I think is really cool that's rubbed off on our receiver room. But there's multiple examples of our team enjoying playing, but most importantly, enjoying playing together and celebrating each other's successes. And I think that's on display a lot for Davante. But that moment, just because it was one of the more recent ones, is what stands out to me.
Mike told us yesterday that Davante, every time he sees him talking to someone new and a different teammate, different position group. Is that a normal thing for a player?
Well, I don't know that. I think Davante's a pretty special, unique guy. I think what's great about our football team, I don't necessarily see cliques. I see guys that enjoy being around each other and similar values but different personalities. And so I think, there's a lot of love for him, and I think, he gives it back to the different people that he spends time with. But, I think that's a really special thing. And I think a lot of guys, are kind of moving around and in different areas and have really cool relationships amongst a wide variety of people.
Coach, you talked about coaching, how important it is in your life. Talk about your coaching staff.
Our coaching staff?
Your coaching staff.
Yeah, you know what? I feel really fortunate to be a part of it. I think I kind of mentioned it. I think this group as a whole, with our players, our coaches, they inspire you to want to be better. And I'm learning from them every single day, and they model the way. They show what it looks like to pour into people. And we always talk about trying to find that balance of urgency and enjoyment. And I think our coaches have done an excellent job of really being able to thread that needle and continuously trying to ascend. Never let complacency set in, but let's continue to raise, those standards. And the way that they go about it, with our defensive staff, our offensive staff, our guys in the special teams, couldn't be more impressed and grateful. And, I love this staff. And shoot, I could go through each individual and give you superlatives about all of them. But I think the most important part is that I feel grateful. And I think when you are motivated to not let people down because you love and care about them, whether that's our players or our coaches, your cup's always full, and that's how I feel about this group.
Sean, with the five-game winning streak you guys are on, how do you keep the team positive but not overconfident?
Yeah, I think we've got the right guys. I think you acknowledge that humility is only a day away, and the importance of continuing to try to ascend. Let's continue to strive. It's not perfect. We've been fortunate to get the result that we want, but there still is a lot of areas and room for growth, whether that's us as coaches or our players. And I think when you have people that are wired the right way, they know, all right, I want to have the stamina to be able to consistently work that right way, and I'm going to earn that ability to play with a quieted mind through my preparation, and then I'm going to have the courage to go cut it loose and play the best of my ability with the things that I can control, and that's what we focus on. But I think our players have enough maturity and enough appreciation for how challenging this league is. I think some of the scars that we've had to go through this year have been incredibly beneficial because we've used those things to strengthen us, and so love this group. I'm not worried about them taking anything for granted, but I think there's the appropriate humility and also the understanding that it's one day at a time, and there's a lot of football left, but the only thing we can do is have a good Friday today.
With Blake going on IR, there's obviously a leadership void.
Yeah.
Some of the speeches he give and whatnot, but different players have brought up Nate Landman as a guy that can fill that, is starting to fill that. Just what have you noticed about him that's let him kind of be that guy, even though he's in his first year here?
Yeah, Q is such a stud and means so much to us, from a production, but most importantly from a leadership and just the human being that he is. But I think the thing that's special about Nate is you come into a place your first year, you get voted a captain. That takes an incredible respect that you earn from your work. And then he's got a great awareness of being able to pick and choose his spots. I think naturally you're thrust into a leadership role when you wear the green dot. You're at that inside linebacker position where now you're able to, just based on where you're located, communicate to the front and to the back end seamlessly. But great emotional intelligence. He's a great competitor. I think our guys immediately earn the respect respect and this the way that he moves. Certain people just have a great feel for when to be able to kind of push and pull, or what to say at the right moment, or what not to say, and how to be able to kind of lead, whether it's in a one-on-one setting or say something in a group setting. And he just kind of has a great feel. There's certain guys that just have some natural leadership traits and characteristics that endears them to their teammates, and Q's one of those guys, and certainly Nate is one of those guys. And I think the best part about it is Nate's not being anybody other than himself, and I've really enjoyed continuing to get to know him and everything that he's about, and it epitomizes what we want to be about.
We have an
Last
issue
one,
with Jarquez Hunter in a
Yep.
while, and he hasn't touched the ball yet 2/3 of the way through the season.
Yep.
Obviously, you like what Ronnie Rivers does in special
I
teams,
do.
but is there any path towards where you'd see what you've worked on?
Here's what I would say, Greg. I think, to Ja's credit, he's done a great job, and he stayed patient. Nobody wants to be out there more than him, and he's done a lot of things that are probably deserving of that. But when you're talking about figuring out your 48, you got real confidence in Kyron and Blake. I think it's been good where Ron's done a great job of balancing those guys' workloads. I think you saw it and how well Kyron played last week, how explosive he looks, and Blake is continuing to get better and better. With Ronnie being our PP, it'd be hard to be able to get 4 running backs up right now, just based on how you're playing it out position-wise, what's going to be their role. But you always have to be ready because there's a lot of unforeseen things that can happen. But I have been pleased with Ja, even though he's not getting the opportunities. But it's not because of anything he's not doing. It's more of a circumstantial type of thing.